So, Jeeves, do you come with the place, or does Master Bruce rent you just for parties?
I've been in service here since the Master was in diapers.
Now there's a picture.
Alfred Pennyworth is without a doubt Batman's most loyal and devoted ally, having been with him from the very beginning. And I mean that quite literally, as he even changed his diapers when he was a baby. And then he took over the role of being father when Bruce Wayne's parents died, and aided him in his quest for vengeance on the criminals of Gotham, and indeed the world. Now, that isn't to say that they haven't fought over the years, or that Alfred hasn't had to take some personal time here and there, because he has on a few occasions, usually due to a catastrophic injury, and he needs recovery time, because he has sustained some insanely bad injuries over the years. In fact, he's even died on a few occasions. But we are going to go over the 5 worst injuries that he has sustained while still staying alive. He loses an eye. Telltale Batman was a dark story that was not afraid to make some drastic changes to Batman's backstory and to use extreme violence, which is why Bruce Wayne's parents were violent gangsters, and we get to see firsthand just how brutally violent his interrogations of criminals can be. And of course, they use this violence on the main cast, as was shown when Lady Arkham forces Batman to choose between revealing his identity or saving Alfred's life. Now, if you reveal your identity, she still attacks, and Batman loses a piece of his ear. But if you choose to protect Batman's identity, then she attacks Alfred, and though you use a batarang to save Alfred's life, he does still lose an eye in the process.
Alfred!
Now, for the most part, Alfred was pretty good about this, or at least as good as you can be about losing an eye, and he even stuck around to help Bruce out.
The eye patch. Pirate cosplay?
It was an unfortunate result of being on the job.
Whoa! He literally gave an eye for you, Bruce.
But once the main story was finished, there is a path where Alfred eventually leaves to take some time and give Bruce Wayne some time, as he finds the whole crusade of Batman just being a little bit too much. Not just on himself, but also in the horrible things they've had to do to other people to keep it going. It's actually ironically not his eye that is the factor. I mean, yeah, obviously it matters, but it's mainly the psychological damage he's taking from all the horrible things they've done to all the other people around them. And this is all very fair. I mean, it's not exactly an easy job. It's very stressful, and you do need some downtime. But I think we all know for sure that Alfred will return to Bruce Wayne. After all, he is nothing if not the most loyal butler of all time. He's turned into a tree. Now, this one is a little bit crazy, but I think you'll agree that being turned into a tree is a major injury. Now, this occurs because a greedy director in Wayne Enterprises gets the company involved in a slash and burn operation in the Amazon.
I don't care how much money we'll lose. I won't have Wayne Enterprises involved in an operation that destroys a rainforest. Shut it down or you're gone.
And even though Bruce Wayne has got them out of this business once he learnt of it, he still gets invited to a special spa. But he ends up giving his ticket to Alfred and Alfred's lady friend, whom basically invites herself, and basically tells Alfred they're going, despite Alfred's protest that he has to work. But anyway, they go to the spa and they feel fantastic, thanks to the rest, or rather thanks to the snacks and the smoothies with their special drugs in them that make you feel young. Everything there, from the food to the drink to the very air, contains a special scientific formula which makes you feel young. Or at least it makes you feel that way at first. Eventually it actually mutates you into a tree, as weird as that may sound. Now, it turns out the Bruce Wayne spa invitation was sent to a lot of other rich people whose companies were destroying the plants of the earth. Or at least that's how Poison Ivy saw it, whom is of course the one who really sent out the spa invitation and is the one who is running the spa. Also, she could turn these rich plant-killing monsters into trees. Her version of poetic justice.
This dog of a dogwood leveled enough trees to shade a small state.
All of which means that Alfred was never the target, and he once again took a bullet for Batman. Or Bruce Wayne, of course, since she doesn't know who Bruce Wayne really is. But Batman does come to the rescue as he has connected all the dots and worked out Poison Ivy's plan. After he'd run some tests on Alfred's blood, of course. After all, when he came back feeling so invigorated, it did raise a few red flags. And he is able to get there in time to stop her and save him. Even though it's already been turned into a tree, it actually takes a long time for it to be permanent. You have to keep pouring these special chemical on them to make them stay that way. Otherwise, it wears off on its own. So this injury is cured, but still, I couldn't leave it off the list because I think this is just a catastrophic injury. I mean, seriously, just imagine if you were poisoned and that poison turned you into a tree. I mean, wouldn't that just ruin the rest of your life?
And weep not for this willow. She slaughtered an ancient forest to produce cardboard. Cardboard!
His hand is cut off. Now, during the Endgame saga, the Joker breaks into the Batcave, and Alfred being Alfred, he doesn't back down, but instead pulls out a shotgun and shoots him in the face. Sadly, it was a little bit too far away, so it doesn't cause much damage. And things don't go Alfred's way after this. This is the Joker we're talking about after all. So the Clown Prince of Crime dodges to the side and hides. Then when Alfred goes on the hunt to try and blow the Joker's head off, the Joker slyly steps out and chops off his right arm, which of course causes him to drop the gun. And once again, Alfred actually just keeps calm and carries on. And he crawls into the armory to get another weapon so that he can take down the Joker. I mean, he is seriously the very epitome of an English gentleman. I absolutely love this guy. And he's quite lucky that he is this dedicated, as his daughter is there, and she manages to lock the safety doors on the Joker and get Alfred stable. After all, he's just lost a hand and a lot of blood. Now, as the story of the comic arc goes on, Batman is supposed to have died fighting the Joker, though of course he will later return. But with him being gone, Alfred refuses to have his arm reattached, as he claims to have no need of it now that he has no one to take care of. Now clearly this is just Alfred suffering from the grief of losing his adopted son, and this is not how he really feels. But still, he refuses to have it reattached, and he leaves the arm severed for the next 12 issues. But once Batman is alive again and come back, they have Crazy Quilt reattach his hand. Not quite sure why it was Crazy Quilt. I think it's just some sort of little pun about the fact that he can do really good stitches because he knows how to stitch a quilt back together. But anyway, it basically turns out that the Bat family had preserved this hand in the Batcave all this time, which I'm not sure is medically possible, but they do have the billions of Wayne Enterprises, so the Bat family can do a lot. Though Batman does of course joke that it was not actually Alfred's arm, but just one of the ones he keeps in reserve. I mean, it's clearly a joke, and it must be Alfred's arm, otherwise his body would have rejected it. But I thought I'd mention it anyway, because you never know, it could be one of those serial killer arms that takes control of Alfred in the night and forces him to kill. Permanent heart damage. In Arkham Origins, there are 8 assassins who have been brought to Gotham to kill Batman, with the promise of a $50 million payday if they succeed. They've got one night to do it, and after that the contract ends. And one of these assassins is Bane, who has studied Batman so much he even recognises his vocal patterns. So when Batman and Bruce Wayne say the same phrase in the same way, he works out that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
You can't expect me to believe that Gotham's most eligible bachelor is spending another Christmas alone.
You just ran out of time.
Now, I do think it's a bit of a stretch that Batman would hear both of these phrases and then remember them this well. I mean, what are the odds that Bane sits down, puts his feet up and watches the news to see what Bruce Wayne's been getting up to? But I suggest you just go with it. I mean, it's not impossible, and Bane is supposed to be a genius, so it does kind of make sense. But anyway, Bane decides to attack those that Batman cares about, and so he goes after Alfred.
Alfred, I am in your house. Bruce, Bane, come home. Say your goodbyes. Once you've had time to turn grief into anger, then you'll be ready to face me.
Breaking into the Batcave and wrecking the place, and throwing Alfred off of the side of one of their cliffs and burying him under a load of rubble. In fact, he hurt Alfred so bad that he actually kills him, as Batman is too late to save him, only getting there in time for his final words.
Alfred, you can't.
Don't add me to the weight you carry.
But Batman doesn't give up that easy. And so he uses the electrocutioner's shock gloves as a makeshift defibrillator, which somehow works and does manage to bring Alfred back to life, after getting several shocks. And that's really the problem. You see, if you get that much electricity sent directly to your heart, it causes irreparable heart damage. So much so that Alfred will constantly be in pain and be extremely limited in what he can physically do. And no doubt will one day need to have a heart operation or two, and very possibly have a heart replacement or pacemaker. And on top of this, he no doubt has a lot of broken bones. I mean, he was beaten up by super strength Bane and thrown off a cliff and buried in rubble. I mean, I don't know if they dropped the rubble on top of him, if they used some sort of explosive device, or if they just threw him so hard that the side of the cliff fell on top of him. But this being a video game, they do just kind of gloss over this. And Alfred carries on like he didn't just die a few minutes before. Though, in fairness, Alfred is a total badass, and I could definitely see him carrying on as normal despite the fact that he just died. Although I will quickly just say, I know some people are going to complain about that one because it's not really brought up inside the game, but I'm counting it because this is something that really annoys me in video games. They just bring people back to life magically with defibrillators, which is not how defibrillators work, and if they keep shocking them like they love to do for drama, it would just ruin their heart. So I thought I'd include it in this list as a little protest, because this actually really pisses me off. And if you don't like it, tough bloody luck. Crippling brain damage. In Injustice, Alfred is killed by Zask. For the full story, check out the links in this video's description. But fortunately for Alfred, Damian Wayne cares deeply for him, and he is able to convince his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, to let him resurrect Alfred in one of their Lazarus pits. Although in fairness, I think Ra's mainly does this in order to use Alfred as leverage against Batman. But either way, Alfred returns to the land of the living. Sort of. Because although Alfred is breathing, that's about all he's doing. Now, Ra's assures Damian that he'll return to normal in time, as Ra's himself has actually had a resurrection like this. He's been resurrected many times over the years after all, and on more than one occasion he has come back without any of his memories at all. And it once took him a full year to get his memory back. And Ra's is right, as Alfred does eventually get his memory back. But despite knowing who he is, and who everyone else is, Alfred's mind is still not quite right. He gets confused, he loses track of what he's doing and what's happening, and basically, he's suffering from pretty much the same symptoms as dementia. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. In fact, it ends up getting so bad that Alfred decides he can no longer be Batman's butler, and he leaves the house. He does this because he's becoming a liability. Now, Batman doesn't of course see it that way, because this is Alfred, it's basically his father, and he loves him. And he has no problem being the one taking care of him. I mean, the guy's a billionaire, he can definitely get someone in to help. But Alfred doesn't see it this way. He believes that he is the one who should be taking care of Batman, not the other way around. And he won't let it be the other way around. That's the kind of person that he is. And in a way, you've actually got to respect this. I mean, he has decided that he will not be a burden. I mean, none of us want to be, and unfortunately most of us do eventually end up that way. Time is of course a bitch that we can't beat. But still, it's impressive that he is able to keep to his honour and move away like this. I actually do respect it. And that is the last that we see of him in Injustice, unfortunately. Maybe he'll come back in the third game, which would be really good, if they do another game and another comic that is. But so far, all we know is that the brain damage is permanent. And in many respects, this is Alfred's worst injury. I mean, losing limbs and movement is bad. Losing an eye is bad. But nothing compares to losing your mind. After all, it's our intelligence and sentience that makes us human beings. And without that, well, there are many that would prefer death, as bleak as that sounds. And I have to say that I agree with them, as I would much rather prefer to simply just die than to live in this lost limbo-like existence. Senility and dementia terrify me, and anyone who's actually seen someone in that condition will say the exact same. It's horrifying. But at the end of the day, that is just how I feel about it. But how do you feel? Would you say losing your mind is the worst injury that Alfred has endured? Or do you think another on this list is worse? I mean, becoming a tree is pretty bad, but remember that this condition is at least reversed. But in any case, let us know what you think in the comments, and of course, if you know of a worse injury that Alfred has suffered, let us know about that as well. And I'd just like to quickly remind everyone that we have some merchandise available on our store, and to say thanks to all of you who have donated to the Needle Mouse Productions page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.